Chapter 15. I accept the request, and I'll make you regret calling me a boaster, I said, looking King Gazel in the eye. We both took a step forward, the ogre mages keenly looking on. I'm sure they didn't think I could lose. The king's side seemed intent on letting him fight as well, nobody dared to dissuade him from the idea. The crowd had already formed a ring, with us facing each other down in the middle. Regarding the rules, Gazel said, if you can block a single string of my attacks, you may call yourself the victor. Not that it has to be said, but you are free to attack me at any time, too. But remember, I am Gazel Dwargo, master of the sword, and my blade shall not be taken lightly. He took his weapon in hand and aimed it in front of his eyes. It held a single edge, with a bit of a curve to it, and pretty patterns were etched up and down its length. It resembled a samurai sword but had its own unique design, certainly, a very well-made weapon for the master of the sword to carry. Just when I was preparing to draw my own blade, a clear voice penetrated the ring. Allow me to watch over the match. As it did, I felt the presence of three more among us, hearts pure and bereft of evil. One had spoken trainee, a dryad I was familiar with. As always, she had a knack for appearing and disappearing whenever it suited her. The other two resembled trainee, so I assumed they were among the sisters she spoke of. Dryads, exclaimed the elderly woman who scanned us earlier. I couldn't blame her surprise. Anyone would be alarmed at a monster teleporting in from out of nowhere. Trainee smiled as she gave both of us a quick glance. Dwarven King, you are being terribly arrogant to our forest leader. Calling Rimuru-sama a boaster tells me you are willing to make every denizen of this wood your enemy. Is this right? However, if Rimuru-sama has accepted this challenge, it is my role as his subject to allow it. I will close my eyes to it this time. But relent on your promise, and do not expect mercy from us. She was willing to accept no backtalk against this. My companions nodded at one another. It was like trainee said what they all were thinking. Ha, ah ha 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 ha. So, leader of the forest, was no boast, after all. I apologize for branding you a liar, Rimuru. And I think I have a vague understanding of the situation here. But I still seek to gauge your true nature. And if we have a referee for this contest, all that remains is to cross swords. Gazel seemed completely unmoved. Yeah, you're right, we'll have a quick match, and then we can talk about what has brought you here. Heh heh heh, and if you can beat me, I will do what I can to answer. Begin, came the dryad's shrill voice over the still field. Since he wants to gauge my true nature, I think I should show him my true sword skills without help of any skill or magic. I took my adult form, took a stance. Oh, Gazel said, taking his stance, it's great that you are taking this duel seriously. I hadn't skipped a day of practice with Hakuro, but the fact that none of it was for keeps had prevented me from really treating it seriously in some corner of my mind. I honed every sense in my body as I sized up my foe. The moment Gazel took a stance, I zoomed forward and slashed at the king. But he effortlessly blocked it. I continued slashing without giving him time to think. If he blocks one strike, I was ready to strike from a completely different side. But betraying my total confidence, Gazel executed a precision move to deflect all my strikes, as if he already knew from where my next strike is coming. Ha ha ha, Gazel laughed, your skills are impressive, but it is not enough to defeat me. Shut up, I spat, I haven't come at you for real yet, so don't hurry me. But I still didn't have any new ideas. I didn't want to lose, but I had nothing to work with. And as if reading this state of mild panic, King Gazel started to move, confronting me with terrific fighting force. Less than report. This force is heroic aura, an extra skill that is a higher level version of coercion. Its aim is to make the target cower and become unable to move. Targets with low resistance will find themselves submitting to, and even adoring, the wielder. Greater than. I prepared myself to get hit by aura, but for some reason it doesn't affect me. I can feel it, but I can move perfectly fine. Guess I have high resistance. Well, either way he is wide open, it's my chance to strike. I used Crestwater Slash. Currently this is the strongest move I can use. Since unlike Raphael I can't use multi-layered Blossom Flash yet, I made sure to attack the hilt of the sword, to knock his sword from his hands. This is, Gazel let out surprised gasp. But surprise was only for a moment. He quickly composed himself and blocked the strike. I jumped back. Now we were back to square one. The two of us glared at each other, swords ready. If this was how it'd be going, the only way to win was via the conditions he offered. See through his attacks and block them. I quietly brought my sword up to eye level, facing Gazel ready to take his instruction, like I did with Hakuro. If I can deflect his moves, I win. Banishing all doubt from my mind, I focused on becoming one with my blade. Turn an ear to its sound, and become one with it. That was Hakuro's advice to me. I had no idea what he meant, but I meekly tried to follow it. Watching me, Gazel grinned. Yes, that's it. Now, it is time for me to move. You don't have to telegraph it that much, I thought. But just as I did, he disappeared. Not a single one of my search skills could find him. It's a haze skill. First, the user rids themselves of all sound before erasing their scent and masking their temperature. Then, they're able to erase their spirit and aura. At the final stage, the user is in a state in which even magicals pass straight through their body undisturbed, concealing them not only from the naked eye but also from sensory-type skills such as magic perception. I saw this while fighting Hakuro, so I was ready, focused on my sword and closed my eyes, waiting for him to attack me and reveal himself. I had a feeling that danger was coming at me from below. I had never trusted my fate to such vague premonitions before, but this time, I decided to follow my gut feeling. Maybe it was the voice of the sword. I felt what you hear when you've fully mastered your craft. But it wasn't the end. Because this skill, oh, crap, the moment I thought it, I held my sword aloft. A loud, sharp ting echoed. The battle was over. I had successfully stopped King Gazel's sword strike. Ha 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 ha, ah ha 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 ha. Impressive. You've stopped me. A piercing blow from the ground to the heavens like that is mainly meant to throw one's foe off guard. It was the strike that followed after this blow that displayed the true worth of Haze of Rumbling Heavens. It was one of Hakuro's beginner-level moves. I already learned how to deal with it by now. I only stopped it because I was familiar with it. Nothing worth praising me for. Why yeah, so, if you admit it, does that mean I win? It certainly does. You don't appear to be at all evil to me. With another bellowing laugh, Gazel removed his sword. This fight is over. The winner is Rimuru Tempest. With trainee's official notice, my victory was complete. Well done, you saw right through my Haze of Rumbling Heavens move. Impressive, Gazel said, but I must ask, you used Crestwater / where did you learn it? Quote, I learned it from my instructor. I replied, what was that? Could this instructor of yours be? Gazel asked, looking down at me in excitement. Could it be, indeed? The same skill and everything. He probably knows Hakuro then. Ho ho ho, well performed, Sir Rimuru. Glad to see you are hearing your sword's voice. Hakuro, who was aiding the town's evacuation, chose that moment to sidle up next to me. He gave me a smile, clearly enjoying this. I guess he must have thought I needed some help over here. If I may, Gazel said, suddenly humble. Are you the sword ogre? Aha, so they did know each other. Quote. Ho, the child from way back when, is it? I hardly even recognized you. Well, forgive me for being so rude, Your Majesty. I was wondering what kind of stalwart warrior could use such a sword move. How splendid to see you have grown to be a better swordsman than I. Hakuro gazed upon the king with a smile. It is an honor to hear such words, sword ogre. 300 years, is it? Since I found you as a child, lost in the forest, and began teaching you the way of the sword on a whim. A fond memory, nowadays. And now you are the Dwarven King. So he instructed Gazel at some point. No wonder they had a similar style. Which meant the king was kind of my fellow student. Still, at that time won't Gazel be a prince? How did a prince manage to get himself lost in a forest full of monsters? No point in thinking pointless matters. We decided to talk in more detail elsewhere. Gone were the provisional tents from before. Now, in the center of town, we had a dorm full of rooms for everyone who held central posts related to keeping things running. There was a government building of sorts next to it filled with offices and meeting halls, and we all went inside to hold a little catch-up meeting. The freshly returned town residents could take care of the night core. This meeting was just for the top brass, and it began as a rather relaxed affair. Firstly, we decided to introduce each other. I introduced Benimaru as my commander-in-chief of the army which is yet to be formed, Soe as leader of the intelligence-gathering team, Shion as my guard and secretary, Hakuro as instructor, Shuna as a shrine maiden or oracle, and as for Ren, she doesn't have any specific occupation. She mostly helps everyone and works as my deputy, and takes care of my daily needs like bringing me food or giving me reports or making tea. She is like super maid who does everything, so I introduced her as my personal maid. She didn't argue against it, so it's settled. Then it's their turn to introduce themselves. First was Adolphe, captain of the Pegasus Knights, Henrietta a beautiful woman, She was a night assassin who ran all the kingdom's intelligence-gathering operations. Jane the old woman so was an archwizard and one of the most gifted dwarven clerics in the kingdom, lastly a dwarf clad in heavy black armor. This was Vaughn, arguably the strongest warrior of the entire armed nation. The mission of the dwarves was to investigate the mystery team of monsters that defeated the Orc Lord, in other words, us. As they put it, they needed to see if we were friends or foe, just like I thought. Once the dwarves gave their story, I gave ours from the first rumblings of the Orc Lord to the Jura alliance we forged. I didn't mention how the Orc Lord had evolved into a full-fledged demon lord. It's all solved now, so I figured I didn't need to. Somewhere along the line, the meeting transformed into a sort of banquet. The tension between us dissipated as we spoke, and by the time night fell, Shuna had offered us all dinner. We had a pretty bountiful food supply in town, so she was capable of some pretty decent eats. It seems Ren has been teaching her how to cook food. I can see some dishes are similar to the one from my previous world. I thought I'd build a little amity and bust out some of the wine we were developing. Then the good times started rolling. Dolph quickly fell into a deep conversation with Benimaru about aerial combat. Jane now debating this or that finer point about magic with Shuna, and it seemed like Shuna was willing to learn from her, perhaps picking up on Jane's investigative magic. Meanwhile, Kaijin was in a friendly conversation with Vaughn. So that's how we managed to break the ice with them all. And here's King Gazel himself, reminiscing about the old days with Hakuro. It was funny, though. Gazel claimed to be visiting as a private citizen, and right now, that's what he was. None of the grandiose atmosphere he presented in his royal chamber. Now he was more subdued, all the pomp and circumstance toned down. Or maybe that's the real Gazel I'm seeing now. There was Gazel the heroic king, and then there was Gazel the fighter. He had seen what I was made of, and I felt like I had done the same with him. Just as the feast got into full swing, Gazel suddenly turned to me, his expression grave. Rimuru, I want to ask you something. Gazel said seriously. Sure, anything you need, I replied with a smile. Do you want to forge a covenant with me? Gazel said, I ask you not as a fellow student of Hakuro, but as king. If you are the leader of this forest, that would put us in equal position, and if you've been able to hold this entire vast forest under a single government, I am sure you will be rewarded with riches and bounties that not even my kingdom can enjoy. We observed this city from the skies, and let me tell you, it is a beautiful one. That, and you have built great roads through the forest. I could only guess at the logistical and technical skills required to build them. They may yet be incomplete, but I can easily see this town becoming a vital trade center in due time, a vast new market, one that will take on great strategic importance. And when that happens, having another nation to back you would help in various ways, would it not? Some of that royal coercion was coming back again. He was pressing the offer at me, eyes dead serious. Ignoring that, fellow student, nonsense for a moment, he was basically recognizing that we were a coherent organization. A group he wanted to support, even. What a coup, are you sure? Because this is the same as admitting that we, this group of monsters, are a full-fledged nation. A coup, but not something that King Gazel could decide upon by himself. If he was speaking as a king at the moment, this was his last chance to take it back. Of course, and since we may perhaps see this differently, let me say this, a covenant would be of great help to us, as well. This is no charity mission, Rimuru. We could both stand to benefit. He told me all this with a grin, then offered his terms, dead serious. These were as follows. 1. A non-aggression treaty with each other. 2. Assistance whenever one nation is endangered. 3. The building of a road to Dworgen, in exchange for their backing. 4. Guaranteed safety for dwarves in the forest of Jura. 5. Promises of technology sharing between us. There were a few other details, but those were the 5 main points. If we were going to build formal trade links, a road would obviously follow along shortly. Having accessible trade routes is an indispensable part of encouraging trade, after all. But making us foot the bill for the whole thing? That would normally be a bit hard to accept. But I can use these in future negotiation. Besides, having a relationship with a nation like Dworgen was more than enough for me to accept it. I would be glad to take this offer, I told him. Ren, Rigard, Benimaru, Trainee and the others had no objections, willing to let me have the final say on it. As Trainee put it, none of the dryads disagreed with naming me leader of our alliance, and none of the monsters had any innate aversion to interacting with humans or dwarves. So now we had an alliance. What do you call this nation anyway? He asked. It was a natural question, but one that made me freeze. We all gave one another surprised looks. Well, I don't think we're really at the nation point yet. I mean, there's the alliance, but that's just a bunch of different races that accepted me as their leader, is all. I don't know if everyone in the forest is ready to accept that. I knew from the start that it sounded weak. Everyone in the room shot me down. If anyone refuses to recognize you as their lord, Shion declared, I promise I shall slay them where they stand. Well, Benimaru added, it's a monster's natural instinct to follow the power chain. But I think it's a little different with you, Rimuru-sama, at the core of it. You know, nobody's being forced to follow you, and I don't think you'll find anyone against it, either. He. Right now, Rimuru-sama, you hold control over approximately 3/10 of the forest. The other advanced races have decided to watch you carefully for the time being. However, the middle levels among them have already expressed interest in aligning with you, and I am sure the lower level races will come flocking to this town for protection. We are united under a so-called alliance for now, but it is an alliance based on a common will, one that I believe will birth a full nation. One with you, Rimuru-sama, at the center. Way to stab me in the heart, trainee. I had said it myself. We will form a great alliance among the peoples of the Forest of Jura and build cooperative relationships with one another. It'd be pretty neat if we built a nation composed of multiple races, I think, but Trainee and the others had run with it, apparently, and that little quote had been causing a huge stir from one end of the forest to the other. Things had been moving really fast, and growing, while I wasn't paying attention. Guess I'd just have to live with it. Alright, let's think up a name, then. We took up a separate room for the debate. The dwarves hadn't had enough wine yet. They wanted to keep it going all night, so we promised that we'd officially enact the covenant, really, an international treaty at this point tomorrow, and left them to their devices. The next day, wake up, someone said, today we have an important meeting with Dworgen. Normally I don't need to sleep, however sometimes whenever I feel like wanting to sleep, I activate sleep mode to sleep. But unlike my past life, this is more of a way to pass time. As I open my eyes, which is more like activating my magic sense, I see Ren. She came to wake me up. She was wearing a maid outfit, yesterday after the debate. Hey Ren, I called. Since I introduced you as my personal maid, maybe you should try wearing a maid outfit. Ren replied, a little troubled. I don't think I look good in a frilly outfit. Ren likes making me wear frilly and cute outfits every now and then. She likes cute things, but she herself don't wear any cute clothes, she always wears plain clothes. It's not that she doesn't like wearing cute clothes, she just doesn't have confidence. Maybe I should force her to take a step forward. Here, I said while giving her a maid outfit I made. You should try these, I think you are cute, and after wearing these you will look even cuter. Then I smiled at her. Ren said her cheeks were flushed, and her ears turned a vibrant red. If you want, I will try it. What's with her reaction? Maybe because I called her cute, but isn't this reaction bit too much? It's like she is in less than it is your imagination greater than. But, less than it is your imagination greater than. If you say so, it must be my imagination. ... After Ren woke me, we went to the conference room. Over the previous night, we had hammered out a name, assembling our top officers and staying up late discussing it. The result we came up with: the Jura Tempest Federation. Tempest for short. They were almost ready to name it Rimuru at first, but I was too embarrassed to allow that. I can just barely put up with Tempest. It didn't really sound like a name unique to me, and it had a nice ring to it. Of course, while I had my guard down, they went and named this town Rimuru on me. The central city of Rimuru, officially, but you know they're gonna call it Rimuru or the town of Rimuru. Just thinking about it makes me want to crawl into a hole, but their conventions were simply too firm to let me turn it down. I just hope I get used to it quick. We also talked a bit about what direction our fledgling nation should take. It was nothing we could settle upon in a single night, of course, so we planned a series of conferences to discuss it. I would be the sovereign ruler, more or less, but over time, I'd like to shift toward more of a republican form of government. You know, employ intelligent monsters, whether they had physical strength or not, and get them involved with politics. The right person in the right job, that's my motto. It was a long way from what you could even call a framework, but for now, we were good. Besides, this covenant came out because King Gazel and I trusted so much in each other. This current covenant between the armed nation of Dworgen and the Jura Tempest Federation took the form of a pact between the two nations. It would take effect after representatives from each side applied their signatures. It would then be kept in safe, magical storage and announced to the world. And so the term Jura Tempest Federation appeared in the public record for the first time. To be continued.